Quick question. What do you do when you want to build a race car so wild, so advanced, it makes everything else on the track look like it's running in slow motion? If you're Chevrolet in 1957, you say worth it and build it. This is the 1957 Corvette Super Sport, a car that got grounded after just one race. And yep, this is its story. This video is based on historical information from the Sotheby's website, the auction house that sold the car. You'll find the link in the Google Doc linked in the description. I definitely recommend checking it out if you'd like to learn more. In the early 50s, the Corvette was, let's be honest, more of a cruiser than a bruiser. General Motors wanted a sports car to compete with European imports, but early Corvettes weren't taken seriously. A two-speed Power Glide automatic, a blue Flame inline-six, and handling that felt more like a tugboat than a track car? Yeah, nobody in Stuttgart or Maranello was losing sleep over the Corvette. But Zora Arkus Duntov had other ideas. Born in Belgium, educated in Europe, and a racing nut through and through, Duntov joined General Motors in 1953 and immediately saw the potential in the Corvette if it could get a real engine and lose some weight. He basically wrote a memo titled Thoughts Pertaining to Youth Hot Rodders and Chevrolet, and it ended up steering the future of the entire Corvette program. Zora didn't just want the Corvette to compete at home, he wanted it to go global. And if you wanted to play with the big boys, there was only one place to do it: the 24 Hours of Le Mans. But first, he needed a race car, a real one, from the ground up. The Corvette Super Sport, also known internally as XP64, wasn't a modified street car. This was a purpose-built race machine from the frame rails up. The foundation was a tubular steel space frame wrapped in magnesium body panels. The whole thing weighed about 1,850 pounds, or roughly 839 kilograms, incredibly light even by modern standards. The frame itself was designed for rigidity and minimal flex at high speed, a problem that plagued early racing Corvettes. This car was low, tight, and compact. The wheelbase was just 92 inches, or about 2.3 meters. By comparison, that's a foot shorter than a C1 Corvette, and almost shorter than a modern Mazda Miata. It was designed to be light and agile, but that lightness came at a cost. Under the hood sat a real oddity for 1957, an all-aluminum 283 cubic inch V8 equipped with Rochester mechanical fuel injection. This was the future of the small block Chevy, way ahead of what anyone else was putting on the track. Depending on who you ask, it made around 307 horsepower, give or take. The thing is, with prototype engines like this, the numbers are always a little fuzzy. General Motors probably had a few versions floating around in different tune levels, and dyno sheets weren't exactly made public back then. But what isn't up for debate is how advanced this setup was. It was light, it breathed well, and it didn't need a carburetor. This was an era where most race cars were still running dual or triple carbs. The Super Sport was trying to leap ahead into the future, and the engineers knew it. Unfortunately, so did the problems. On the outside, the Super Sport looked incredible. Designed under the guidance of Bill Mitchell, yes, that Bill Mitchell, it was long and low with a sharp nose, a minimalist windscreen, and a fared-in driver headrest. The rear had a subtle taper, and the covered headlights gave it a very Euro feel. You'd never mistake it for a production Corvette, but you could definitely see the DNA. If you're enjoying the video, consider subscribing. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of April, and every click helps a lot. It might not seem like much, but it actually makes a huge difference in keeping the channel going and bringing you more videos like this. Thanks for the support. It rolled on lightweight magnesium Halabrand wheels with knockoff hubs. Suspension was fully independent, another huge leap forward for General Motors at the time. But it still ran drum brakes. Yes, you heard that right. Drum brakes on a race car that could hit over 180 miles per hour in testing. There were plans to upgrade to discs, but they didn't quite get there in time. Inside, it was all business. Racing bucket seats, bare metal floors, and a simple instrument panel. No frills, no comfort. This wasn't a sports car made race-ready. This was a race car that didn't care about comfort at all. Before it could prove itself at Sebring, the Corvette Supersport headed to Daytona for a public shakedown at Speedweeks in early 1957. Driver John Fitch took it out and clocked speeds well over 180 miles per hour. That was insane for the time, especially for a car that didn't even exist in any production form. And the performance looked promising at first. But it was clear almost immediately that the car had big issues. Suspension geometry was off, the rear end felt twitchy at high speed, the brakes faded fast, and the engine was already starting to show signs of heat soak. The magnesium body didn't help with cooling, and airflow through the engine bay was limited. Zora and his team were making adjustments constantly, but the car just wasn't ready. Still, with Sebring around the corner, they decided to go for it. Sebring in 1957 was supposed to be the Corvette Supersport's big moment. Chevy had brought in the big guns, racing engineers, top drivers, even Juan Manuel Fangio, who took a few test laps in the car before the race. Imagine that. A 5-time world champion in a one-off American prototype. The car qualified, and there was a lot of buzz. This was the first time General Motors was putting serious weight behind an international racing effort, but on race day, everything fell apart. The car suffered mechanical issues almost immediately, overheating, suspension failure, electrical gremlins. The car was forced to retire after just 23 laps. That's it. All that effort, all that engineering, all that buildup, and it didn't even make it halfway through the race. And the worst part, that was the only race it would ever enter. Right after the Sebring disaster, the American Manufacturers Association, under pressure from insurance companies, public safety advocates, and some good old-fashioned corporate paranoia, announced a ban on factory-backed racing efforts. General Motors had to pull out of all motorsports, including the Corvette Supersport program. Just like that, the plug was pulled. The Supersport project was over. The car that could have changed everything was pushed into the corner. But the Supersport didn't disappear completely. In fact, it quietly helped shape the future of the Corvette in ways that most people don't realize. That magnesium space frame, too exotic for production, but the idea of a lightweight, rigid chassis stuck around. The aluminum block engine, it paved the way for future lightweight V8s. Fuel injection became a reality in production Corvettes later that same year. Even the car's shape, long nose, short deck, faired cockpit, helped influence the look of the Stingray racer concept in the second-gen Corvette. And Duntov, he didn't stop. He kept pushing. The 1963 Corvette Stingray would finally give the Corvette real credibility with performance to match the looks. And it all started with this one failed experiment. And just when you thought the story of the Corvette Supersport was over, it added one more headline. This year, the original Corvette Supersport prototype was auctioned off at Sotheby's for an eye-watering $7,705,000. That's not a typo. Over $7.5 million, making it the most expensive Corvette ever sold at auction. A new record. Now, that raises a fun question. Is it worth it? This wasn't a race winner. It didn't cross the finish line at Sebring, but it is a one-off, hand-built prototype that helped shape everything that came after it. Now let's be honest, unless you're hiding a winning lottery ticket, you and I probably aren't bidding on multi-million-dollar Corvettes anytime soon. But still, what do you think? Does that kind of history justify the price tag? Or would you rather spend that money on 20 split-window Stingrays and a house? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe and click on the recommended video that appears on the screen. It's all about the Cadillac Series 62 by Ghia, a Cadillac most people haven't heard of, and for good reason, since only 2 were ever made. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.